Is this thing ever gonna stop?
No. It's building power.
It feeds on souls. Well, it's strong enough to possess the marked one.
Hello everybody, it's Aaran back from Screenstars, and I'm here once again to do another review for Geek Legion of Doom, and today I'm here to review the 2020 horror film They Reach, a film that is written and directed by Sylas, Dall, and it stars Mary Madaline Roe, Morgan Chandler, Eden Campbell, Elizabeth Rhoades and Ash Calder. Now, this film is set in 1979, and we initially get a setup scene which is based in 1969, where we see a couple of researchers, a father and son researchers, turn up to this woman's house who fears very much for the safety of her son. A priest turns up, and it's clear that things don't go particularly well. You don't really see anything, and then it shifts forward 10 years to 1979. We meet a family, and primarily the daughter Jessica, who is a bit of a tomboy. She likes tinkering and repairing electrical things, and we see her messing about in a junk shop, and she finds like these old tape, and the guy in the junk shop gives it to her because he feels sorry for her because they've just had a loss in the family. Her brother takes it home, tries to repair it, cuts herself, bleeds on it, and what she and we don't realise is that this tape recorder has been possessed from that event 10 years ago, as this was the very recorder that those two researchers used to record the events. After this, her house and to some degree the town kind of becomes possessed, and she is given a mark on her hand where she cut herself, and she then becomes the marked one, and of particular interest to this demonic possession, I guess. Right, that's the best way I can describe this film. What are my thoughts on They Reach? Well, this is actually a really quite polished film. Like I said, it's set in 1979. It's got a very distinct look and feel about it. It feels like it's set in that time period to some degree, but it feels modern too. They're obviously going for a little bit of a Stranger Things approach here, because the three primary characters here are the three children. So you've got Jessica, you've got her best friend, and this other boy who hangs out with them as well, who she's a bit sweet on. So it's a childlike approach to it, really, a bit like Stranger Things. I think the problem with this film, for a lot of fans of horror, it's probably a little bit tame for some. It's a nice introduction to horror, I guess you could say, to somebody who is not a real big fan of it. It's decently put together. Like I say, it's got good production values. It doesn't feel low budget or anything. It feels like something that you could probably put on the cinema. It wouldn't do particularly well, but you know what I mean. It's the sort of thing, if you went to watch in a cinema, you wouldn't think, what is this doing here? It would probably suit it. I think the problem with this film is I didn't find it particularly scary. A lot of it didn't really make sense, didn't explain itself particularly well, even though they tried on a couple of times to put some exposition scenes in there. You've got this woman at a library giving him these books to research. They go and find this priest who was involved in the events 10 years previously. So they try and do some exposition, but because there's no specific possession going on, it's more like it's initially an object that's possessed, then it seems like it's a house that's possessed, and then the town that's possessed, because you get like a police officer that's dragged under the desk at the police station and murdered. So it seems like it's everywhere, this possession, and all you really see through many of these scenes are like hands grabbing people, these big clawed demonic hands grabbing people. You don't see an awful lot. There are a couple of scenes where you like see a head ripped off, maybe, and you'll see somebody getting grabbed, and then you've got the age-old scene where you get blood splattered on someone's face or something like that. So it's not overly graphic or anything like that, but you've got a distinct idea of what's gone on in that scene. So it's a little bit messy in its storytelling because you're not really sure of the rules here in this film. Who's getting possessed, why they're getting possessed, what demon is it that's doing the possessing. It doesn't get down to them kind of specifics. And then there's a bit of a messy ending where, you know, they're using this electric device that she's made, powering it with potatoes that lights up these lights that somehow keeps it at bay. There's a real desperate attempt to get some potatoes from the barn. So it kind of loses its focus a couple of times, this film. But there's no denying that there's quite a little bit of charm with this film. I did feel that I did have some entertainment value watching this. I'm not going to lie. I think there's some talent here with everybody involved. All the performances are really good. The only one that I thought was a little bit below par, there's a police officer that was a little bit wooden. Other than that, I thought the child performers really carried the film particularly well. I thought they were fine. There's a level of humour that runs through it that is very, very subtle, but it's definitely there. So it feels like one of those 80s horror adventure films, a bit like the Monster Squad. I mean, it's not that type of film at all, but it's got that feel to it. But it doesn't fully commit to the horror, the comedy, the Spielbergian adventure feel it's trying to go for. It kind of doesn't really know what it wants to be, so it's got a bit of an identity crisis, the film. But there is some entertainment value here, and it's a nicely produced film, nicely directed film. No problem really with the performances. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I actually quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite entertaining, but there are definitely some problems with it as well. So that is my review for They Reach. I hope you liked it. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to call back at Geek Legion of Doom soon for more content.